Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another great episode of TEARED. My name is Bongseni, your host. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the show where we get to dive in deeper conversations in the quest of answering the big question, why education? You can binge watch all the shows on our YouTube channel, DBE-TV. On today's show, it's no different. We get to sit down and have a deeper conversation and profile the awesome Dr. Mariette Wheeler, who is a zoologist, a conversationalist, a life, natural sciences, as well as a marine sciences teacher. On the 2021-2022 National Teaching Awards, hosted by the Department of Basic Education, Dr. Wheeler was actually selected as the national best teacher. Dr. Mariette, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing super. It's amazing to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's such a great pleasure. I mean, like now you're a celebrity. How has it been for you? I mean, since October 2021, being crowned or selected as the best teacher and having to travel and having to be profiled in different newsrooms and seeing a lot of people admiring the work that you've been doing. How has that journey been, being a celebrity?
Well, it's been quite a growing experience, both professionally and personally.
Yes.
That moment when I was announced as the winner, I was standing there like, is this really happening?
Yes.
Is this really me? And then I realized it's my turn to go to the stage.
Actually,
like,
I was there. I saw you when you were announced. I don't think you were prepared for it because you were caught off guard. And for like some few seconds, there was a delay. Was that just you thinking, is it me really?
Yeah, it was, because all the other categories, they announced the free winners.
Yes.
And they said to us the night before that they were all three of us that were there, because we knew if you've been invited to be there, you're one of the second runner, the first runner, or the winner.
Yes.
And so we had a dry run the previous night.
Yes.
And then it's my category time, and I'm standing there. And I'm looking, where are the others? Are they not here? Why are they not here?
Yes.
Why am I the only person standing here? And in a video that my colleagues from Protea Heights Academy that were also there,
Yes.
they realized at the moment when I was still looking around, wondering where are they, my colleagues realized.
Wow.
And they were trying to wave at me,
Wow.
and I'm still standing there. And then it started to dawn on me. And when they called my name, I thought, okay. And I said, we're only announcing for this category, the only announcing one. I'm like, okay. So
it's time for me to go.
It's me who has to go. And then, because my family, they were all watching it online.
Yes.
As well as what was super special, my marine sciences, my pilot class in marine sciences, they were also all watching.
Wow.
And so by the time I got back to my phone was super busy. And from various sides, and in my class group of that specific class, the amount of messages. And I'll never forget, one of them, Latita, said to me, "Ma'am, you danced to the stage." So that was a very special moment, but also special because the people close to me, including my learners, were part of it.
Sure.
And then along with that further, it also allowed me to grow as a person, to have the confidence to stand up and say, but this is what I believe in. So, because you need to have that personal confidence in order to stand on a stage and to
I
talk.
mean, having such accolades, they just put a stamp into you believing even more that people are watching. It's not just you. But I'm going to talk more about that later on. I want to take you a couple of steps back. You studied zoology. You're an amazing scientist. What happened? You decided to change after studying biochemistry and now get into education. But I do understand even now in education, you're still into science. So what, inspired you to change from just specializing as a scientist to go into teaching?
I come from a family of teachers. Yeah. So my father, Dr. Jan Johannes Wheeler, he was originally a maths and science teacher. And
you got it from him.
He always wanted me to become a teacher. And my mom is a languages teacher.
Okay.
And so
Teaching is in your blood.
My mom, Mrs. Aneta Wheeler, she was from Afrikaans and some Netherlands, and I also did German at school that she could assist me with. Sure. Which I later on realized how fortunate my sisters and I were to have both a maths and science teacher in the house as well as a languages teacher in the house. Wow. But when my father would say to me, go into teaching. I said, Dad, I want to be a researcher. And when I was at crossroads in my career,
Yes.
my dad always, my child, teaching. And I said, my father, research. And so it kept on happening.
Yes, yes.
And then I came back after again spending a year on beautiful subantarctic Mariette Island, where I
Yes,
worked
yes.
with albatrosses and petrels and
Was it
penguins.
the time when you were doing your PhD?
I first went to subantarctic Mariette Island to do my research for my PhD.
Okay.
And then I got the opportunity to go again a second time, so 2013 to 2014. And when I then came back, and I was again at a T-junction in my life, then Professor Les Underhill, who was my PhD promoter, he said to me, Mariette, I think you should go into teaching.
Sure.
And I probably about 5 times in that meeting said to him, Prof, my father would like that.
He's been saying.
And, and unfortunately, my father passed away a month later. Thank you. And somewhere along that line, with all of that, towards the end of that year, I thought, people who is close to me are thinking I will be good in teaching.
Yes.
And I am passionate about nature.
Yes.
I'm passionate about the youth of today and making a difference. And I do believe that every generation should make a difference, especially when it comes to environmental matters. And I thought, well, then I'm up for a challenge.
Wow.
So I went to go and study teaching. And I have found, now especially because I've got this platform to go and speak to people,
Yes.
that it actually allowed me to now speak more.
Yeah.
Yes, I teach in my classes and I bring my passion. And it also helps that I've actually seen, when I talk about the ocean and marine sciences,
Yes.
I've been out on the ocean, I've been seasick, and I've survived. And I've lived between the penguins with 9,000 king penguin chicks that I had to count in front of me.
Sure.
So I know what it's like to be a marine biologist, and I can display that to the learners, and tell them about that.
And I think that brings about the excitement on the introduction of marine sciences as a subject now, because I know it was introduced in 2020, right?
Correct.
And you were one of the pilot teachers in that. How has it been? I mean, it's 3 years now since the introduction.
It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah.
The matriculants are just now busy writing their prelim
Yes,
exams.
the first matriculants.
Yes, so we're very excited that the first who've been taking it in school,
Yes.
they will be writing the first NSC exam end of this year.
Yes.
Last year we had learners who took it as an after-school subject.
Oh, okay.
They wrote the matric marine sciences end of last year, but this year will be the first that learners took it in school level.
Wow.
But a journey. In 2020, we all will remember the year 2020
Yes.
because of lockdown.
Yes.
And so we started off the subject very enthusiastic, and then lockdown. And at my school, fortunately, we already had everything on Google Classroom, and the learners were already all connected electronically. So when that happened,
Easy to have
we just
learning.
had to, So I had to get used to teaching them in Zoom and having more electronic resources.
Yes.
But it was not the easiest of years to pilot a brand new subject.
No, absolutely.
But from there, we continued. And yes, when just before the prelim, we finished the curriculum, there was a special moment between my learners and I where we've made it. It's been a journey. And in this journey, it was fascinating to see these learners grow. Not only because marine sciences is about marine biology,
Yes.
as well as the chemistry, the physics of the ocean, ecology, and human impact. What are we doing, especially in an ocean context? And we got to the point where we've literally covered all of the work, and we've covered the work, but we have done so much more because we've been involved with international programs with UNESCO,
Yes.
See Beyond, and we have been on trips they've seen for themselves, and most importantly, they don't just know the content. When I, for example, talk about ocean acidification or climate change or plastic pollution,
Yes.
they're able to think critically about that.
Sure. Are there any practicals that go with this subject where you need to actually take them on the field?
Yes, so we some of the practicals we do in class,
Okay.
but we do take, and we had our first grade 12 camp this year that we also did along with learners from Melkbos and Marine Sciences Node. And we did various activities that we were on the beach. We took them to Boulders Beach to go and see the penguins there. And so some of them was the first time actually being, within the relatively close distance to the penguins. They got to dissect fish.
Really?
And
I'm
it was
quitting my job. I want to swim with the sharks.
So that was not quite part of the practical.
Oh, okay, all right.
But and we had even at school when I couldn't take them to the beach, we had Dr. Rothman who works on seaweed. He went to go and collect seaweed, and then he brought it to the class.
Wow, that's nice.
And I could do it there. But at a camp, we had one of the leaders in marine biology in our country, Professor George Branch, and Margot, his wife, who wrote The Living Shores of Africa, which is what the book that I still, when I was first year in zoology, used. So they're now retired, but they're still extremely passionate about marine biology, and they came to talk to the learners at a camp, so which was for me my hero from when I decided to become a marine biologist, talking to my learners.
Yes. And beyond that, I mean, you love kids, even the kids that you don't teach. You've been involved in the ESCOM Expo, Science Expo, and other expos. I mean, when you got to Protea Heights, you were involved also in some expos that you've organized. You actually organized the first Science Expo at the school. How has that been, and what channels you into investing so much on young people?
Well, I really believe strongly in project-based learning. Which is also something that DBE-Ecubed is really important for them, that learners are actively involved.
Yes.
And that they tackle real-life problems.
Yes.
So when it comes to Expo, learners have to come up with their own topic and problem solve and work together. So it's also that peer learning together, working as a team.
Yes.
To do real science project themselves. So even before I became officially a teacher, I was involved with judging at regional and national level for ESCOM Expo for young scientists.
Yes.
So when I then, at my interview for Protea Heights Academy, I said, but do you have Expo at the school? Because the school only started in 2015. And I said,
you joined
no,
a year
but
later.
Yeah,
Wow.
so in 2016 when I started off there, I started to get things in place, and then we had our first Expo in 2017. But where I've also been involved in was at the ESCOM Expo committee, at first at the Cape Town region and currently at Stellenbosch region, where at Stellenbosch region they have what's called science buddies.
Yes.
And it is making use of the facilities of the Stellenbosch University Education Department, so the computer center there, and getting learners who don't have the opportunities at their own schools to actually work on a computer.
Wow.
These kids come from areas where they can identify problems. And I have seen often it's some of these learners who might not have access to computers or access to a lot of internet. But are thinking. So, for example, I had a learner that said, at my house, I can't do homework before everybody else goes to bed. Because they say, no, I must help first. And then when I'm doing my homework, it needs to be quiet. So now I'm sitting in my bed, and I'm softly trying to do my homework. So he designed a study desk area with a light on the side and where he can put his book and have it covered so the light also does not disturb the rest of the people in the small house. And something was very close to my heart, and the person got a medal at the expo for it. Was somebody who said his grandfather was in a wheelchair. And on the grandfather's deathbed, the grandfather said, I made your grandma's life difficult because I couldn't really be mobile. So what did this child go and do? He designed a prototype for a wheelchair that is more mobile.
Wow.
So taking a real problem
and coming up with a solution.
Coming up with a solution.
And it's all a brain thing where someone like you who's well experienced can just help ignite that out of the child, irrespective of the environment. But apart from all these things that you do, Mariette, who is Mariette when she's at home? You know, when you're not teaching at school, what do you love doing? I know that you're into arts, you love chocolate, and your two beautiful dogs. But what keeps you sane apart from just, studying or being, with other people and helping other people? What do you like doing for fun?
I love being out in nature, so when I can, I go to the beach and go and
I
walk
guess
on the
we can't
beach.
take that away from you, hey?
Yeah, no, the ocean is close to my heart. And also I go not too far from me and about
Yes.
3 kilometers from my school is a City of Cape Town nature reserve called Bracken Nature Reserve
Yes.
in Brackenfell. And I'm on the committee, I was the chair, now I'm on the committee of the Friends of Bracken Nature Reserve that creates awareness. So we just had a spring day that we get people to come and see, look at the spring flowers.
Wow.
And yes, my dogs I love to bits. So I love taking them out and reading a very good book because
Yes.
you can get yourself into that book and
Yes,
experience the
yes,
story.
yes.
And I was fortunate to recently, I read one of my own hero, Lewis Park, who's an extreme swimmer in the poles and very cold areas where he goes and swim to raise awareness about climate change. And I strongly believe with him that every generation can make a difference and see what can we do about climate change. So I really enjoyed reading his book and agreeing with what he was saying.
Sure.
And then when I do have the opportunity to go and have we're South African.
Yes.
And South Africans, Braaidag is coming up.
Yes, yes.
So, having a good braai with
24th
your
of September.
friends.
We're getting ready. That's beautiful. But what are you seeing as a challenge in our nation? I mean, observing from where the COVID-19 pandemic has taken us as a nation and humanity, when it comes to issues of climate and environment, what are we doing wrong? And you can also based on the different environments. You've gotten to live in Gauteng, you've lived in Cape Town, in different places. What are we doing wrong in terms of our understanding of environment and our understanding of how we need to preserve nature?
I think what people...
Well, that's if there is anything wrong that we are doing.
we have a beautiful country. Let's
Yes.
start with that. We have an amazing, such a huge diversity of ecosystems we have.
Yes.
And I've recently been fortunate to have traveled quite a bit of our country from the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, and I even went to the city to go in and ski there. And along the way, one looks at the different areas and you look at the communities, and when you drive through some of the areas, you see the pollution. Yeah. And pollution, land-based and marine-based, it's a huge problem. And a lot of people will, but the conservation agencies, they must sort it out.
They must sort it out, yeah.
But each one of us needs to do our responsibility.
Yeah.
Because each one of us, most of us every day use plastic. And I'm not against the use of plastic because a lot of packaging, if you replace that with glass, it will be too heavy to put in. Take some of bottles like a tomato sauce bottle. If you're going to have all of that in glass compared to plastic, and some other bottles are in glass, but those plastic bottles, if you're now going to take that, it's going to cost more. So I'm not saying plastic we'll get away from all plastic.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, what are we doing to that plastic? Because a plastic bottle can be recycled up to about 8 times. But what do? We're going to throw it in the general rubbish.
Sure.
If we just put it where it can be recycled, there are recycling places we can take it. And along the coast, when people go to the beach, I remember in January it was a beautiful day and I went to Strand there in Cape Town. And the beach was full of people and it was amazing, a beautiful sunset. Yeah. And when people stood up, you could see where people were sitting because they just left it there.
Sure.
So I think it comes back to that, what we are trying as children to just clean up after yourself. If you don't clean up after yourself, who's going to clean up after you?
And you're not just affecting yourself, you're affecting everybody around you, technically. But also, talking about environment, I noticed, I'm not a big conservationist like you who is knowledgeable. I'm just an ordinary citizen that is responsible, though. I noticed during the pandemic, when we used to drive during these hard lockdowns, the air was different because we didn't have a lot of cars on the road. but now it's back to normal. What are some of the easiest things that we can do? I mean, we live with people, we can't take that away from us, but what are some of the practical things that one can do? I mean, you've mentioned one where if you're sitting in a place, just, clean after yourself, but what can we do? Like, what are some of the practical ways that people can do on a day-to-day basis
Well,
to keep the environment, clean?
part of what was good about lockdown is that people learned that you can have online meetings. So
You can work from home.
It is not always the same as seeing your colleagues in person.
Yes.
So, but maybe instead of having to fly up every week for meetings,
Yeah.
maybe have a meeting the 1 week online and the following meeting in person.
Yep.
But going down to our school learners side as well, if the shop is 3 blocks away, it's good exercise to walk. Or obviously, please be safe if you do walk and cycle.
Yes.
But good exercise is also good for you. So think of ways how you can combine, or where you all need to go to the same place.
Yes.
Instead of having 4 cars driving somewhere,
I like that.
we all have WhatsApp, so we can arrange. 1 car can take 4 learners somewhere, and coming back, the other person can take, depends where it is.
Yes.
But carpooling will make quite a big difference in helping our area as well.
Of course. Now let's get to the exciting part, which is almost the second last part of what we're going to do today. After being crowned as the national best teacher, you've spoke about how that has changed your life and how you've influenced other people, but where to from now? Do you feel like you need to raise the bar even higher, or do you feel like, no, you've reached your ceiling?
Shortly after, after getting the award, I read, you didn't come this far just to get this far.
Wow.
So I'm excited to see what the future will hold.
Sure.
I'm very passionate, as you can see, about marine sciences, and it's a new subject, so it's been great to be part of, we're actually because there are currently 5 pilot schools, and it's growing, so it is going into other schools as well.
Yes.
How do we get other schools involved? And working along with the Two Oceans Aquarium Foundation and working with them in how can we get it into different schools, how can we make it more accessible also to other learners that are in other areas.
They played a big role, Two Oceans Aquarium, they played a big role in terms of developing the curriculum. And also, as DBE TV, we've had a very good partnership with them to ensure that we do have the content that they've produced.
Yeah, they went, Russell Stevens and Xavier Zolstra, they wrote an amazing curriculum. And have walked the journey with DBE to get it all gazetted and approved. And as we said, the matrics are about to write. So the whole journey of, because a new subject, one can't just write it and it's there. It has to go a whole step. And it was actually great to be able to give comments along with the whole process.
Nice.
So watch this space, and I'm also excited to see how my own career is going to progress.
Nice. What are some of the prizes you got?
I was very fortunate to have from DBE-Ecubed, I received 100,000 Rand cash. So
I'm your friend today.
So I was blessed that my sister came to visit from Germany, and we could go on a family road trip. To me, yes, belongings is good to have some comforts in life, but experiences, and especially if it is for people you care about, to me, those are memories. And so part of that money went so that my mom could also join us on the road trip.
That's beautiful.
And then in July, when one of my dreams was to go skiing in Lesotho, so I could actually use that to get experience and go and see other areas. And so that's been amazing. And
I'm sure a whole lot of other prizes. But I'm so disappointed the money is not there anymore. Anyway, lastly, Mariette, the question that we always ask our guests in this show is, Why education? Why are you so passionate about education? Why are you involved in education? I know that your family had an impact and influence in your life, but you could be elsewhere. I mean, you could be a researcher somewhere sitting in London or whatever. But here you are. You're involved deeply in education, even went a step further into education in classroom and now teaching kids. But why education?
Because I believe I can make a difference. I believe that the learners that are in front of me, yes, I know not all of them will necessarily become scientists,
yes,
but if they become the CEO of a company, they still have to look at how are they environmentally sustainable, what role are they playing. So working with them in teaching them problem-solving skills, in critical thinking. And I love a saying by Confucius that says, tell me, and I'll likely forget. Show me, and I will remember. But involve me, and I will understand. So I love involving my learners in what I do and getting them involved in national and international projects like the UNESCO Sea Beyond. Because along with that, another one of my personal heroes that inspired me to become a marine biologist is Jacques-Yves Cousteau. And he says, we protect what we love, and we love what we know. And
Sure.
with that, I'll add understand.
Sure.
So when I work with my learners and build relationships with my learners, because it's also not just about that academics, it's about walking the journey
Yes.
with your learners.
Yes.
And that is why, along with still being involved with research projects where I can, make it worthwhile for me.
Sure. Well, Mariette, a big shout out to you, and we wish you all the best. Keep on shining. We know that you're doing an incredible job in every space that you get into, so keep shining. We are watching you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, that's it from TED. This has been a great episode, having to spend it with Mariette. Willa, who is an amazing zoologist, a conservationalist, a life, natural sciences, and at some point she also taught mathematical literacy, and currently she's also teaching marine sciences. Be on the lookout, and we just want to say congratulations to her once more again for being nominated as the National Best Teacher on the National Teaching Awards hosted by the Department of Basic Education. For more shows and more episodes, make sure that you binge watch them on our YouTube channel, DBE-Ecubed. For me and the rest of the team, goodbye.